Here I Am is a photographic exhibition of people who are living with cancer. It is showing the truth of cancer. It is showing the beauty of the human form following the trauma of cancer. And the idea came from several different sources, mainly to do with self-confidence of the individual following surgery, following chemo, radiotherapy. And it's showing people the story of the people behind the images. It's sharing information. It's sharing information not only about the individual, but about the particular type of cancer they've had, the treatment they've had. It's also a mechanism for support for everybody that's involved. And the goal is to include as many people in this project as possible, to offer a huge support network, to share information, and really more importantly, to get people talking about cancer.
Physically, it's probably the easier one. I had no symptoms. My cervical cancer was diagnosed through a routine smear, but after I had cancer surgery, I have had a few issues with my bladder. I have had UTIs to the point that I'm on daily antibiotics to try and solve that, and I have no feeling in the top of my leg from here to here. That's because they had to pull the nerves to take off the lymph nodes. So that's been quite difficult. More recently, my bladder's actually stopped working, and that's needing investigation. So 5 times a day I'm having to catheterise myself, which has taken a wee bit of getting used to. Emotionally is probably the more difficult one. I think when I got my diagnosis, I just went into autopilot, and myself and my husband, we did everything we could just to get through the 4 months or 5 months, and it's only been now since I've had my surgery and I've had to rest and relax that the emotions are finally hitting me. When I got the all clear, suddenly everything hit me within a week of what I'd actually been through. So there's days when I feel great and I can't wait to go out and spend time with my kids and just enjoy myself, but then there's other days when it hits me that I've been through a real battle, that I've beaten cancer, and sometimes in those days I don't really want to leave the house. I just want to stay at home and cuddle up with a blanket.
Well, initially it rocked my world. Obviously, cancer diagnosis is never a nice thing to have. Then physically, having a mastectomy, parts of your body removed, never particularly nice. And at first, probably emotionally, it made me quite depressed. It made me quite gloomy, and you sort of walk around with a bowling ball sort of feeling in your stomach. But very soon after, you start to adapt to a new normal, and you start to realise that, this is the way life is, but you're still here. You still have so much to live for. There's so much still that life can offer you, and it's not all about your cancer. You're still here, and yeah, being a woman and having physical changes happen does affect your confidence slightly. You don't feel as feminine, but ultimately that's proven to be not the case, because when all's said and done, it's about who you are inside, not what you look like on the outside.
I think from the moment they got the diagnosis of cancer, I just jerked up. I just went, you know what? Okay, I gotta fight this. I've got to beat this. So the first thing I asked was, what's my prognosis? Which they weren't willing to tell me, so I had to fight to get the answer out of them. It says, well, it's not normally something people want to know. So I says, well, how am I supposed to fight it then if I don't know how long I've got? Is it terminal? Yeah, so how long have I got? So the guy left the room, went and got another professional oncologist to come in and says, at the rate that it's grown, it's an aggressive grade 4 tumour, and you've got approximately 6 to 12 months, but you don't really know. So I went, right, okay, thank you. So my first is 6 months. I'm going to get the 6 months, and I'm going to celebrate with a nice big bottle of wine once I pass that 6 month mark. Then going for 12 months, then 18, then 24, then 36. Now I'm at 36. So how's cancer made me feel? Emotionally, more positive, determined to beat it, absolutely 100%. Physically, there's been drawbacks. There's been extreme tiredness throughout treatment. The first 12 months, I had radiotherapy. I got sunburn, which was fun because I hadn't even been on holiday. So it was good because I had a tan. So I always trying to look on the positive side, But the chemotherapy in pill form was exhausting, you know, and I ended up, I wasn't able to sleep. Then I was up every morning at 7 o'clock for radiotherapy, going to bed that night, not sleep until 5:30, 6 o'clock, up at 7 again, back for radio, and this went on for 6 weeks. So when the weekend came, I just slept the whole weekend, you know, so completely drained. So emotionally, that was hard, that was tough. It was hard to focus, hard to concentrate on what you wanted to do. Do I need to go shopping? And my memory just went. So that hasn't improved. That's the one thing that I miss, is my short-term memory. You know, I'd still walk out today going, I'm in the car, where am I going? You know, even though I knew I was going out to get my groceries, or I was going down to pick my son up, or down to pick the husband up, it would go out of my head, and it would take a few minutes to sit, calm down, rewind, and go, oh, that was it, yeah. And then normally it'd be something completely different. So yeah, so emotionally it's had its toll.
Cancer has made me feel emotionally drained at times. I would have good days and bad days, and I don't beat myself up about having the bad days anymore. At the beginning I would have got quite down and gone into a state of depression where I would have hid myself away from everybody. Now I know I have those days, I recognise those days and I accept them, and I know that then they'll get better. So I don't beat myself up anymore. Physically, the only time that cancer really affected me was when I lost my hair through the chemotherapy. I had no problem losing bits of me. I had no problem having a mastectomy and not having a boob. That didn't worry me. It was my hair, because that was the outside that everybody saw, and that's what affected me the most physically. Since then, and my hair's come back, it doesn't affect me at all now.
At first, I was strong and positive. But I was going through the treatment. I still positive for quite a while, until a few surgeries in, and then you weren't getting any more appointments and things because you didn't need it. You know, the treatment was over and you're sort of left hanging. So then I started to get depressed, which I still am, but my own doctors are very good and they help you out with medication, therapies, and as well as my friends being there for me as well to help me along. But it's only me who can dig me out of that. So I'm still feeling, I'm not the same person I was, and I can see the bits that's broke away from me, and I need that confidence back. So cancer really does, it changes you, and you may not recognise that person.
Cancer can affect anybody, men, women, children, babies. Doesn't matter age, doesn't matter sexuality, doesn't matter religion, political belief. It can affect absolutely everybody. And that's why in this exhibition we do have men, we have women, we do have one young girl. And it's to try and reflect the truth, the reality of cancer, and the fact it does affect everybody.
My darkest moment was when I found out the date for my cancer surgery. It was scheduled for the 21st of July, which is the anniversary of my dad's death. My dad died when I was 9 years old. So as far as I was concerned, nothing good happens on that day. And I thought I was going to die, because as far as I was concerned, there was nothing but death that day.
Well, undoubtedly, probably the darkest hour was the Christmas after my primary treatment. I received a letter to go back to the breast clinic on the January of the next year, and I did have a feeling of dread going. I think I probably perceived on some level that something good wasn't going to happen, and that's when I was given the news that it had spread to my liver and it had become incurable. You know, to receive the news that you're terminally ill or incurably ill, especially when you've young children, it is gut punching. There's no other way to describe it. You have no boundaries anymore. You don't know, everything you thought you knew has just been shaken, and you don't know anything anymore. I think probably initially my first thoughts were, how do I tell my mum? Because that, you know, I was very upset about the thought of having to tell this to my loved ones. My second thought was my poor children. At that point, my eldest son was only 12 and my youngest was 6 months old. You have the thoughts of, will I see him go to primary school? Will I see my older son do his GCSEs? Well, what will happen to my children if I go? But the other side of the coin is I was here to see my son go to primary school. I'm still here for both of them. My eldest son is doing his exams, and yeah, I have a terminal or incurable diagnosis, but I'm still here and I'm still doing well.
Darkest moment from being diagnosed with cancer, I'll have to be honest with you, it wasn't personal. It wasn't anything to do with the fact that I'm battling a disease that can't be cured, that I've got 6 to 12 months to live. It was the moment that I had to tell those closest to me. Now, my partner was there with me when I got my diagnosis. I went off on a complete random, okay, so what's the prognosis, what's the treatment, if the treatment doesn't work, what's next? And I went so full on that I didn't take a second to look. Seen him, just pure white, face had dropped. It was hard. That probably the darkest moment.
My darkest moment was when I was re-diagnosed earlier on this year, and I got a phone call to go to the hospital as an emergency. They had discovered that the cancer was in my stomach and was causing a blockage in my bowel. I was admitted to the hospital, and so many doctors at that stage, within the space of 24 hours, was telling me how serious it was. At one stage, somebody had told me that I had only weeks or months to live. The hardest part was sitting my son down on my hospital bed and explaining to him that I may not ever come out of the hospital, and trying to make the plans for him if I didn't come out of the hospital. I'm a single parent and have raised him since he was a year old, and he's 16 now, and I don't feel that he was ready to not have his mum. And that was the hardest part that I had to do, was to tell him, your mum mightn't be here in 3 weeks, 4 weeks time. Thankfully, I came through it, and I am still here, and I'm grateful for that. But that was the hardest thing I have ever had to do throughout the whole 8 years that I've dealt with my cancer diagnosis.
My darkest moment was when I was going through chemo. I was going through my 3rd one, and I had a PICC line in, which wasn't being very receptive. It kept on getting infected, or just wasn't working, and then the nurses had to try to get it put back in. Things weren't happening, and it really shook my confidence of, I don't want to do this anymore. I've had enough. You know, I know this is supposed to be saving my life, but it's not worth it. And then the doctors and people around me try to talk me back into things, and I just had to let myself be for a while, and just go in that corner and be quiet and think to myself, what can I do? Can I go through this? Can I make myself stronger? And I have done, and I did do. Out of the 6, only took 5 chemos. Radiotherapy was a breeze, and all the rest, surgeries, anything I got there since, it's been good. It's just how I feel, and I just get those dark moments with depression. But I won't be there for long. I'm getting out of it.
My biggest fear was, am I going to die? And I internalised that for a week or so, because I didn't want to burden my husband or my close friends and family. But I found that the more I internalised it, the bigger the fear got. So my advice would be to always talk about your fears. Once I spoke it out and said the words, they didn't seem as scary, and I was able to talk it through with people. The other bit of advice I would give is not to Google. That was the first thing I was told by my consultant, and I followed that. I looked for online support groups, but I never Googled cervical cancer. I found that I got a lot of help from online support groups and from cancer charities, but probably the biggest thing for me was my best friend bought me a journal to write my fears down, a prayer journal, and I used that daily and wrote down what I was feeling and what I was worried about. And for the first couple of days, it was just fear after fear after fear. But as time went on, I found myself answering my fears and worries, and that really helped me go through the process.
Fear of the unknown is everybody's fear, but for a cancer patient, living with uncertainty is brought to your door quite regularly. Being incurable, I live from scan to scan, so it's every 3 months you find out if your current treatment's working, if it's not working, if things have progressed, if things are better, and you do sort of live in these 3 month slots and go through the roller coaster of emotions every 3 months. But personally, I'm the sort of person that when I discovered I had this, researched everything. I think I have a backseat oncology degree. I wanted to know everything about it, everything there was out there that could treat it, and that has helped me a lot. I also had, before diagnosis, quite a strong faith, and that has helped me with the fear, but it would be wrong to ever say that I don't have my moments where I am in the dark and I don't know what's happening, and I think that's natural, and I think you need to admit when that's happening and get a bit of help with it, because there are people there to help you. But as the years are going on, and I have my new normal, I have less and less fear. Obviously scan time is always difficult, but recently it's been good news, so you tend to think to yourself, well, we're doing okay, we'll just keep going.
If someone asked me, how do you deal with the fears, as I've said, it's the fear's not anything to do with me and my cancer. That battle I'll face head on. I'm not afraid of it. It's a beast, like I said. It's living in my head, rent free. I'll get it out. Not afraid of it. Not afraid to die. What I am struggling with is how other people are dealing with it. So to deal with that fear, it's dealing, believe it or not, with humour. So I will joke about my own cancer, and get them to laugh along with it. I think because I was given 6 to 12 months as a diagnosis, that was the hardest part for the family. So they were plodding around me, and they were trying to do everything and trying to help me. I was like, I'm okay. Look, fine. I might need you to take me shopping, but that's about it. Dad, I might need you to take me to my hospital appointments. But other than that, yeah, everything's fine. Just it's like I don't want to be thought of or applauded for having cancer. I didn't want everybody fussing around me when I can do all these things myself. And when I need help, I'll ask for help. So those were the hardest months, but dealing with that with humour, just joking about it, just taking the piss.
The fears of cancer are there from the beginning. You fear about the treatments, you fear about what way they're going to affect you. Once you get through that, you fear the reoccurrence. It's a fear that will never ever leave you. No matter whether you're told that you're cancer free, you'll still always have those fears. At the beginning of my journey, I told everybody about my cancer. It wasn't something that I hid. I actually went to the stage where I went down to my son's school. Something that I didn't do, I never collected him, but I started collecting him from school and stand next to the girls that were collecting their other children and just told them, complete strangers, the next time you see me I won't have her because I've got cancer. I just told everybody and anybody that would listen. And then I dealt with my fears by being proactive. I got involved in yoga classes and meditation classes, self-awareness classes, life coaching, anything that would take me out of the house and take my mind away from my fears. And through all of those classes, I have met wonderful friends who I can rely on, I can talk to, and who are always there to support me. And that's how I deal with my fears. I surround myself by positive people and positive things.
I'm handling my fears day by day. I get encouragement from my friends, my family, my doctors, everybody around me, social media. Because it's just me handling these fears. Nobody else can do it. Nobody else can see how I'm feeling inside. Nobody else can hear those voices inside your head saying, just lock yourself away in the room. Nobody wants to see you. You've had all the fussing over you. But I need to see me and get these fears out of my head and be strong again.
I've really tried to focus on the positives. So in the future, I want to live long enough to see my children grow up, to see grandchildren. I want to build a life with my children and my husband. I no longer worry about silly day-to-day things that I would have got very stressed out about before. Cancer puts everything into perspective, and suddenly you realise not to sweat the little things, you know, because when you compare it to cancer, how bad can it be? So that would be one of my hopes for the future. I want to help others who have maybe got the same diagnosis as me. It can be a very lonely thing. Even with friends and family around you, you don't think that they know exactly what you're going through. And I found great help and support talking to others who'd been on the same journey as myself. So I would, now that I've been through the journey, like to support others.
Yeah, well, obviously I hope to be around for my kids, to watch them go through all the different developmental stages that everybody expects. I would love to be here to see my grandchildren. That would be amazing. And maintain my quality of life. I have great quality of life, and if I could keep it that way and stay around, that would be fantastic. And as for the bigger picture, a lot of what I do now is revolving around trying to make cancer a thing that is now a chronic livable condition. I can see that being the future of cancer. I would love to be very much a part of that. If I could be around to be a part of that and benefit from it, that would be fantastic. But I think that's the way forward, and I think that's my biggest hopes.
I think what's great about having a terminal diagnosis is that I just ignore it. Do you know what? My life is for living. I love holidays. And in fact, this year alone, I've been on 7 different holidays. Just love travelling and exploring the world. I'm planning holidays way ahead, even though I don't know if there is a tomorrow. I don't care. I'm booking them anyway. My aspirations in life are to see my son graduate. So he's in his final year. So that's only a year, no bother. I want to see him settle down in 5-6 years, get himself a career, have a family. I could be a grandfather, you know. So now my aspirations are watching my family grow, watching my son grow up and have a family of his own, travelling more and just enjoying life to the full.
When I was diagnosed the first time round in 2008, my only hope at that stage was to see my son go to big school. He was 8 and I just wanted to see him go to secondary school. If I got to that stage, I would have been happy. But the goalposts always changed. And now with this recent re-diagnosis, I know my time's limited now. There is no cure for me anymore. And my only hope is that I'm here to see my son achieve his independence a wee bit. And I'm starting to let go. I think I wouldn't have let go of him so soon. And I'm starting to ask him to have responsibility for his own life and things. And that's my aspiration, is to be here for as long as I can, so that he can reach a maturity, so he can cope when I'm not here. First, my aspiration in February was to be here for Christmas. Now, after being at his university that he wants to go to last week, my aspiration now is to go see him go to university. And I know the goalposts will change, and then I'll want to see him graduate. So I just keep hoping for the future and that I'm around for as long as I can be.
My hopes and aspirations is to become happy for my family, happy for my friends, seeing my daughter married, seeing my son finish his training in the army, which I'm so proud of. Aspirations as well, that when he comes home after getting his driving test, that he doesn't use my car as a tank, which he's going to be in the army. Happy to have my husband right beside me as my rock, because he inspires me, but he always makes me mad. That makes me push myself on further and get through it, saying I'll show you all. For me, I just want to be healthy and happy and live a long life.
Going through the cancer journey, you find funny in the most unusual places. The story I'm going to tell you is a bit cringeworthy, but we laugh about it now. When we got my cancer diagnosis, my husband and I had just booked our first child-free holiday away for July, and we were told by my consultant that we had to cancel it. To cancel it, we needed my GP to fill in a form for insurance purposes. When I went to my GP receptionist to speak about this, the lady took down all my details, asked why I needed the form filled in, and I explained because of cervical cancer. And then she proceeded to say to me, the doctors normally charge £15 to fill out this form, but they'll probably take pity on you because of your diagnosis and waive the fee. I was shocked at the time, but as soon as I got out of the doctor's surgery, I rolled about laughing. I just thought it was the most ridiculous thing to say to somebody. I'm facing cancer in the fight of my life, but I'm going to be worried about a £15 fee. So that's the incident that my husband and I would tell as our funny incident during cancer.
Well, when I found out that the cancer got into my liver and was incurable, I decided, well, we're going to have to live together. So I gave my tumour a name. His name is Trevor, and we talk to each other. I'm trying to talk him into having an amicable relationship so we can both be around for a long time. He seems to be quite keen on Prosecco, as am I, so that's always a good start to a relationship. We're together now about 4 years, and Trevor even has his own Facebook page. So I don't really hold with the whole battle of cancer sort of rhetoric. I sort of send him love and well wishes, and as long as we're getting on fine, everything should be good.
I remember I had surgery on the Wednesday. I got out of hospital on the Saturday, and I had one of my best friends over from England. So we were like, do you know what? Let's just go out and have a couple of pints and put it all behind us and pretend that nothing happened. I had a bandage on my head, and there was still blood coming out. So, the bandage had blood sitting up on the top, so I had to wear a hat. So I put a beanie on, and we all went into town, went to a bar, can't name it, but the bouncer says, can't wear a hat in here. I says, what do you mean? I says, it's winter out there, it is like October, it's freezing. He says, no, you can't wear your hat in here, it's just the rules, you have to take your hat off. I says, look, what's underneath this hat? It's not pretty. Are you sure you want me to take my hat off? And he went, no, I insist you have to take your hat off. And I was like, right, okay. So off came the hat. The face, he just went, what the fuck? No, you can put it back on, mate. It's hilarious, but there's so many stories like that there.
I was going through chemotherapy and it was coming up to my son's 9th birthday. I never wore a wig, I always wore a bandana, but he had asked for a sleepover for his birthday party. So I had decided to go out and get a wig and take him and his friends out for the day and be normal mum with her. Just to make him feel normal for that one day. So we went out and we went to the cinema and we went to McDonald's, and then we came back and we had a party in the house and they all slept over. And in the middle of the night I heard a crash. So I jumped from the bed and ran into his bedroom, and one of the boys had got out of bed sleepwalking and had knocked the TV over. So he looked up and I said to him, it's all right, Stephen, you're okay, you've only knocked the TV over. And he looked at me, squealed, ran into the bed, underneath the covers, and wouldn't get out again, and couldn't wait to get home the next morning. And I couldn't understand why. And it was only whenever he left that Jack said to me, my son Jack said to me, Stephen thought you were Uncle Fester coming in the middle of the night. Because I had forgot that he'd seen me with a wig all day. And then he woke up to this bald woman in the middle of the night.
You've got your happier times as well, because you've got your friends, and often they get you into trouble. Raising awareness for breast cancer and other cancers too. I have a little friend called Nina and Joe, one who has connections to a tattoo parlour. And my friend Joe was hitting a big number, which is, Liz, I always wanted a tattoo. He's been right, we'll go for it. Never think she's going to do it. So I went down, got some vouchers, and he's right, we'll do this. So we kept putting it off and on, and then in the day, we came down to Bangor, went to the tattoo studio, we picked out our tattoos. Here's Joe, I just want this to be tiny thing, and he's me, right, I want the Wizard of Oz, the ruby shoes, because you can always return home. So, okay, Joe goes and gets this wee tiny angel wings, nice and pink and pretty. I get this, big and bold. So I made her pay. I held her hand and I squeezed the life out of her. But she's still here to tell the tale. So that's my happiness, and every day. Told you I get yous.
I know, but sure, so what?
Did you feel my pain?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
It's like, no, it is tiny.
What we're doing with the Here I Am project is giving people a space to talk, a space to share their stories, to share their inspiration, to share their fears, to share any piece of useful information anywhere. It's a community, it's a support network.
My one message is that a smear can save your life. I never missed a smear. I always went for them. And because of that, even though I was diagnosed with cancer, it was picked up really early. And I was able to just have surgery. I didn't need chemo or radiotherapy. And the doctors talked about curing me, not treating me. A smear takes 5 minutes. Yes, it is 5 uncomfortable minutes, and you don't want to be there, you want to be anywhere else, but 5 minutes can save your life. So please, ladies, go for your smear. Look after your sexual health.